Hello everyone, this is Korosh Erfani and today is Tuesday, March 31st, 2026, and we are reporting the 32nd day of the war of Israel and the United States on Iran. The destruction of Iran continues. We have more and more news regarding the new locations that have been bombed by by Americans and Israelis. Here you can have a report of the drop site with regard to that, talking about strikes, including the Mubarak Steel in Isfahan in central Iran. Another one is a port in Bandar Abbas in southern coast on the Persian Gulf. Another steel complex in western Iran, and the meteorological facilities in Bushehr, and of course a residential complex in Malad near Tehran. So these are just a part of what had been destroyed today, and this is a continuation of the systematic destruction of Iran that had been planned by Israel, and of course United States is helping to do so. And what is interesting is that this part of the war is so important that anything else could be overshadowed by that. For example, the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is open or not is less important for Israel, and now with the order coming from the Tel Aviv, even for Trump. And Trump announced today that whoever wants to have the Strait of Hormuz open, can go and do that. We won't help. We won't do that. Which means that we are now, from the fact that we are bombing you, we are doing anything that's necessary for opening the Hormuz, sending the boot on grounds and so on. No, we are now just in a very interesting mood of Mr. Trump, according to which we don't do anything, and if you want to have that strait open or reopen, you can go there. What's happening? Why this shift? Of course, we have seen thousands and thousands of modification of rhetoric and discourse from the minute one till now by Trump and his crazy company, right? But why now suddenly they are, as Lady Lindsey Graham asked, here, Lindsey Graham is recommending to wind down Iran war, wind up efforts for peace deal. What has happened? That's a major question. Why Lindsey Graham is asking, we remember he was the one who asked for bombing, destroying and obliterating completely Iran, right? Now suddenly he shifted to a very fervent partisan of peace and winding down the war in such a way that we can have peace, effort for peace. All right. Something is wrong, right? In the calculations of Washington and Tel Aviv, we have for sure something wrong that is making them towards something completely different, and we are waiting for in 48 hours or less a very important statement from President Trump regarding the war, most probably announcing that we have been victorious and it's done, it's over, now go home and sleep, relaxed. On Wednesday or Thursday, at 6 p.m. East time, we are going to have this announcement. So the people are looking for an answer. What has happened? Why suddenly we have a change in the tactics. So if it's not a deception, because today he was talking about continuing the war most probably for 2-3 weeks more, and then we will see. Here you can see in CNN talking about could be done with Iran war within 2-3 weeks. That's all. That's all he needs to finish the job. So, for example, Alan Mizrahi, a commentator, Israeli commentator of the political issues, he's talking about most probably they are lacking, they are missing really the interceptors. So if they cannot have that enough, they cannot defend Israel with the barrage of the missiles and drones coming from Iran. So in a few weeks, most probably they won't have enough to stop the missiles that are coming from Iran. And on the other hand, they are unable to put an end to this capability of Iran to send more and more drones and missiles over Israel. So they have to do something, right? We can understand it. Of course, that could be one of the reasons for this. They are panicking and they want to do something, but the issue must be a little bigger than that. The reasons for which United States and even Israel are trying to get rid of this so-called war, and to run off. They want to. They have most probably to face something more serious than that. So let's see what could be. First, we are going to see if there is anything that have been achieved or not. So there is one exception that they could achieve really, which is the almost total destruction of infrastructures in Iran. I say almost because we don't know exactly how long it will take, so that they can announce officially the end of operation, the end of war, as they said. It's tomorrow, after tomorrow, in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we don't know. But what we know is that with what they have already done to everything that is necessary for a normal function of a country, in this case Iran, they have already damaged, something between 50 to 70% of what is necessary for the normal course of life in Iran, right? Even though the mainstream media are not really covering that, but the numbers, like for example around 100,000 targets that have been hit by Americans and Israelis, must give us an idea about what kind of operation it was. So regarding other things, except the systematic structural destruction of whatever is necessary for Iran to function for the coming 50 to 100 years. Okay? Let's see for the other objectives. One of them was the regime change. They didn't get that, right? But I think we must be attentive about this, because regime change could be just a facade for what was being done. I think Israel was never really looking for regime change in Iran, because the Iranian regime was willingly or unwillingly the best government that Iran could have in the region from 1979, after the revolution. The Iranian Revolution, according to my understanding, was a kind of coup by the Israelis inside, because don't forget that the regime of Shah was completely infiltrated by Israelis at the top level Imagine that the chief of the security organization, the famous Savak, was an Israeli. So they organized everything so that they could get that ridiculous Islamic revolution. And through the Iranian regime after the revolution, they got the best Israel could have ever imagined during these 48 years. So I don't believe in the regime change really as a real substantial target. Of course, if there was not enough substance in this let's say nation state, not only the regime, of course the Israeli would have liked to disintegrate Iran by dismantling, completely the institution of government, not this regime, because within this regime the Israelis have a lot of collaborators, but I am talking about the institution, right, the political institution of government in Iran. Israelis would have liked really to get rid of that, but it's not the case, right? So we cannot really consider that as something, as one of the objective or one of the achieved objective of that. So at least if we take what they said at the beginning at face value, that we are going to change the regime, we are going to, destroy the Iranian regime. No, there is no such a thing. So there was not regime change. There are not really negotiations in course right now, because Trump and his administration have been talking a lot about kind of negotiations that are in course, but we don't have any sign of such a thing in both sides. It's very unilateral claims by just the Americans, according to which there is something happening. We don't know exactly what, because the Iranian officials are telling us that there is no such a thing. There is no negotiations. We don't have any contact with them. We didn't send any answer to the 15-point letter or the things like that. So, and no negotiations. It's just imaginary thing by Trump and his lunatic team. They said that the Iranian nuclear capability have been completely obliterated. It's not true. Right now, Iran has still 450 kilogram of uranium that is enriched at a level of 60%, which means at any moment when they have the facilities and the material possibility of that, they would be able to produce something between 10 to 12 nuclear warheads with that amount of enriched uranium. So all this operation was to somehow get rid of this, to do away with this uranium, and now we see that it's not the case. So another complete defeat in this case. So they said that Iranian missile capacity is destroyed. They cannot send any more missiles, 90%, 95%, and now we see that the Iranian missiles are almost 24/7 sent to Israel and other targets in the region, and it continues, and we don't know for how long Iran can continue that, but for now it's exactly on the contrary of what Americans and Israelis are telling us. Same thing for the drones. The Iranian drones are going here and there, targeting the different American or Israeli facilities, locations, and so on. So they said that the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. It's not the case. Now they gave up completely, the Americans at least, with regard to that, and that's why other countries like Pakistan, Egypt, Turkey, and European countries are trying to negotiate with Iranians in order to open the Strait of Hormuz. And finally, they said that the regional network of the Shia groups that are collaborating with Iran had been eliminated, which is not the case. The Houthi are there, the Iraqi Shias are operating, and of course Hezbollah is doing whatever is necessary to defend the southern Lebanon. So as you can see in this list, you have just the wishful thinking list of the Americans or the Israelis, right? And I think again, all of them, beside the what had been actually done, which means destruction of the infrastructures in Iran, were not really that much important. But this is just for the sake of argument to tell you that this war didn't really cover, didn't meet, didn't reach the objectives that had been fixed by the Americans or Israelis. So that's why maybe we can talk about something that should be called, if I am not wrong, a kind of delayed defeat, which means a kind of, let's say, postponed failure, right? This is what it is. They don't want to accept that they have been defeated. They don't want to confess, to recognize that they are experiencing a failure, right? And they try to postpone it with the totally hollow, empty discourse of victory by Pitex, by Trump, and other, Epstein class members. All right. Now the question is what they got really, if they cannot really say that we could cover all these objectives. What's the result of war finally? Let's see realistically what's happening. I think the war couldn't go in the direction that had been organized and planned or pre-planned by Americans. For the Israelis, separate, is different, because the Israeli knew that it would be impossible to get everything done. The regime change, Israeli didn't want that. The other things, of course, they wanted, but approximately. The only thing about which Israelis were very serious from the beginning and are still insisting on that and operating on that is just the total destruction of the infrastructure, of the necessary infrastructure for Iran to be a normal country for the coming decades, right? Because my estimation, let's say, regarding the amount of the degradation and damages that they are causing in Iran would rise to a few $1 trillion. I'm pretty sure, because we can see with everything that had been done in amount of dollars, and with more than 100,000 targets, and of course it keeps going, most probably we are going to have in Iran something like $1, $2, $3 trillion of damages. Don't forget that for the Iranian war with Iraq during 8 years, the amount of damages was estimated at that time at $1,000 billion, $1 trillion, 40 years ago. And I am pretty sure that with everything that they are doing right now, we must be waiting for something like that. And a huge damage estimated at a few $1,000,000,000,000 for Iran means something between 50 to 100 years of financial troubles, because Iran won't have such a money to reconstruct, of course, the oil income with other export income will cover something between 50 to 70, 80 billion dollars per year as the total income of the country, foreign income. And from that, of course, everything must be injected into the daily basis activities of government and keeping the country running. And there would be a little portion of this money that can be attributed to reconstruction. And if you calculate it, you see that it's a matter of half a century or maybe 1 century that is necessary for Iran to reconstruct everything that is just get damaged till now, let's say 32 days, and in the coming days. And I am pretty sure that at the final phases of this war, it could be the last 48 hours, for example, Israel will really make it at full speed, at full force, in order to maximizing, the damage, to get the everything that is possible to destroy, getting destroyed, and of course the United States will participate in that because of the Epstein file. Now, let's see once it's done. The Iran is over. Okay, Iran is not defeated. Don't forget that, but destroyed, and it's different, right? It's completely different. In the Second World War, Germany was destroyed and defeated. Japan has partially destroyed and defeaed, right? But many other countries have been completely destroyed but not defeated, right? Look at Russia, for example, in the Second World War, and many other countries. They were destroyed but not defeated. This is the case of Iran. Iran is not defeated in this war. We can say that. We will see this. It's impossible to imagine that at a given moment Iran will announce that it's unconditionally surrounding to Israeli and Americans. So it's out of question, right? But we can be sure that it will be destroyed. So the Iranian regime will be in place, no change, right? Like 48 years ago, same regime. Khamenei has gone. Khamenei came in his place, and the IRGC is there. Nothing changed really in the let's say structure of the Iranian regime, right? And but the country is destroyed, right? Many people killed, many people wounded, a lot of people displaced, but the country is there, right? The country didn't get disintegrated as many wanted really that, but we will be in a country that needs several decades in order to reconstruct. I don't think that as long as we are in the same configuration for the international equation, right? As long as there is a country that is called Israel in the region, and as long as we don't have a total stability in the region, no country wants to invest in Iran for the reconstruction. China, Russia, or whatever will effectively wait years or even decades so that there would be a real stability in the region, and from that moment maybe some countries are interested to invest in Iran. But I am telling you, as long as Israel exists, this stability that is absolutely necessary for Iran and for other countries in the Persian Gulf won't come to light. You can be sure about that. Israel has been created in order to prevent the Middle East to become a territory of peace and progress and democracy and things like that. Never Middle East can experience prosperity as long as Israel exists. So that's why we are going to another ephemeral phase of the history, as long as this entity is there in order to destroy completely the Middle East and then the world. We know that this entity is not compatible with the human civilization. Is not a real part of the world history. It had been created artificially by deception, by terrorism, by genocide, and the function of Israel cannot be anything but the continuation of all these wrongdoings and crimes and slaughterhouse and so on and so on. So let's forget about peace and prosperity for the Middle East for now, but let's see the price or the huge cost of this adventure for destroying physically, at least physically, Iran. When we look at the different aspects, we will see that that's a military adventure that was really pricey, right? I mean, it cost a fortune for Abrahamic capitalism to get that, to get the total destruction of Iran. I am not talking about annihilation, because they couldn't, but destruction, material, physical destruction. The things are not really good as the backlash of this war for the United States and even for Israel. Let's see some of them. Here, Bloomberg is telling us that Iran war could wipe out nearly 200 billion worth of economic growth across the Middle East. This is a new United Nations study finds. This finding, I think, is very ridiculous. $200 billion is just what Pentagon asked for covering, what is happening, because at the first 6 days of war cost something like $13 billion to the Americans. So we are talking about almost $2 billion per day. Now we are in the 32nd day. So it's a matter of already $64 billion for the United States. And we are not talking about the damages, just the cost of operation. So for the region, of course, they must be calculating based on the GDP, the change of the GDP, and for the after war, the post-war period, how the economy of these countries, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, has to adjust, to the new conditions, and from that they conclude most probably 200 billion. This is, I think, the most ridiculous estimation that the United Nations could publish, because we are talking about something much more than that. We are talking about United States losing many of its military bases over there. You remember maybe at I have already mentioned the one estimation according to which United States had spent during 50 years. Of course, that's the money that had been paid by most of them by the Arab countries, but they were talking about something like $1 trillion cost of establishing and maintaining all these bases during half a century, right? And can you imagine that during 1 month they lost almost all of them, damaged, abandoned, or kind of inflicted anyway, out of service? So that would be much more. But what I want to say is that this war has triggered several processes, okay? And all these processes are going on against the Americans' interest, okay? Against the United States' interest. Many of them. We are talking about the long-term effects, right? Short-term, mid-term, and long-term effects. For example, one of them here, as you can see, it's a matter of kind of shifting from the petrodollars to yuan, right? The Atlantic Analytical Center is reporting that the daily volume of transactions in yuan on the network that is called CIPS was between 600 and 50 billion yuan, but in the middle and the end of March it suddenly rose to around 940 billion yuan, from 750 to 940 billion yuan. You know what does it mean? Simply it means that the people around the world are trying to make their transactions by yuan and no more by dollars, right? More and more. And that's the reason why we can see how the status of dollar as the international as the basis of international transaction is called into question. But let me show you something much more important in this field, because we must be attentive about the trend, right? Not the event, the trend. One of them is telling us this. Across the world, the banks started to convert their balance, from dollars or from the U.S. treasuries, and don't forget that the dollar is one of the U.S. treasuries, into gold. So for the first time now, for the first time since 1996, global central banks hold more gold now on their balance than U.S. treasuries. So which means that the banks now don't have trust in U.S. treasuries, including dollars, U.S. dollars, right? And they want effectively to have something that is trustable. So that's the reason why we have a huge rise of the gold's price in the previous months, and it shows that the banks know something. They know that a kind of market collapse is coming, and they don't want to have the object of this collapse, which is the U.S. treasuries, right? Because this is what is getting to this collapse. The dollar and the U.S. treasuries are going to fall apart, for sure. It's a matter of time. Just to give you an idea about this, in 2015, in the fourth quarter of 2015, U.S. Treasuries were 33% of global central bank reserve. 33%. The gold was there also, but for just 9%. 9% of the global central bank reserves were in gold, 33% in U.S. Treasuries. Now, according to estimation of the Bank of America, gold is at 24% instead of 9%, and U.S. Treasuries are just at 21% instead of 33%. So, as you can see, the trend to get gold instead of U.S. Treasuries has tripled, right? They want more and more gold, and they push back more and more U.S. Treasuries. So the reason for which we have a collapse in the U.S. stock market is that there are many people right now, there are many banks, financial institutions that are there in order to do something. What? Just selling the U.S. Treasuries and converting it into something else, for the banks at least, into gold, right? So if we keep continuing this way, of course, at a given moment, what the United States has to pay, because U.S. Treasuries means dollars and bonds, they come and they want something, for being paid back, and U.S. Treasuries has to pay that, right? And if you pay it without having resources, without having enough income generating, of course, at a given moment you are bankrupt. This is what the chief of Federal Reserve said yesterday, that we cannot, keep holding in this way for a long time. You know what's happening? Just today, for example, we had an unbelievable positive stock market. Thanks to what? Thanks to injection of billions and billions of dollars by treasuries, because they got the idea that if it's red like yesterday, we are set for the whole week, and at the end of this week, if it was all the days, in the stock market, the Dow Jones in red, of course that was the beginning of a huge collapse for the financial system in the United States. That's why today, very forcefully, U.S. Treasuries intervened in order to inject billions and billions. They buy, they buy everything, any assets, like stocks and other bonds and assets, in order to give the impression to the normal shareholders that no, everything is fine, where everyone is buying, and create effectively a kind of let's say boosting trend, but it's artificial. It's completely artificial, and they cannot continue doing that for a long time. Tomorrow, if they want to repeat that, Treasury will have really to face a very bad situation in the coming days even. They cannot continue like this simply because it's artificial. It's not really the normal, usual mechanisms of markets that are determining effectively to have a rising trend, and it's just by pumping more and more money into the market in order to keep it at acceptable levels, so that the shareholders, the ordinary investors, believe that everything is fine and come into the market and buy the assets. So But you can see that along the way, something is wrong. What is wrong is that the United States cannot really have a bright future for what is going on other scenes. Because don't forget that the American economy is a part of global economy. And if the global economy cannot hold the American economy, this economy doesn't have really a lot of resources in order to survive, right? So that's why because of Epstein file, right? When you enter in a war that Israel has recommended, has ordered, let's say, of course you can do that. And if you do it, there won't be the publication of those photos and videos of the Epstein file. Okay, but on the other hand, you have now, to record all the consequences of your action. Look at how the United States is getting isolated more and more. Daily Mail is reporting how Europe has turned its back on Trump. Italy blocks US bombers from landing. Spain closes airspace, France too, and plan denies Patriots' requests as furious president lashes out at UK and EU. So NATO is done, guys. NATO doesn't have any future with the United States, which means that in long term we must not wait for anything that could include European partners of NATO and the United States. Only one of them. So of course, even now, behind the scene, Europeans are negotiating in order to take control of NATO, system, and because the commandment of the NATO is mainly in the hands of the U.S. Army. So with this new situation, of course, it must be a change, right? And everything will be over there. So we have other news here. For example, it looks like that China and Russia are really at the end of a process for finalizing a new system for a new financial system, something that is completely out of control of the United States, something that doesn't have anything with the system of SWIFT anymore, and there would be kind of sanction proof, right? Which means that they don't need any more to have to deal with American economy in order to have any worrisome about the sanctions or the things like that. This is what is happening. This is when we can see that because of all the miscalculations that had been underpinned, on the American economy, now the things are getting, tighter and tighter. This is a news of just a few hours ago. Huge layoffs at Oracle, up to 30,000 people just got the access, right? Layoff for 30,000 people by an email in order to save something between 8 to 10 billion in cash flow. So this is don't forget that this is an Israeli company, even though had been funded by Americans and its main activity is here, but we know that the whole thing is in the hands of Israel, and they have to pay for that. So now we have a better idea why Graham is recommending to Trump to wind down Iran war and wind up efforts for peace deal, right? Because nothing is going well and as it should for the American economy, and of course for Israelis the same. Today we have had this lunatic criminal psychopath Netanyahu, or let's say AI version of Netanyahu, coming and talking about what? Talking about a super nation. He said that if I am doing so, because he's collapsing, right? His government is collapsing. The Israeli society is on the verge of a real situation where it crumbles, it breaks down, right? For sure. Can you imagine that today he appeared with his AI version talking about the fact that, hello, I want to transform through the Iranian war, to the war against Iran, destroying completely everything in Iran. It was in order to transform Israel into a super nation. Super nation. We don't know what does it mean. Most probably it means chosen God people nation, or chosen God nation, something like that, but super nation. The guy who posted it says that this was an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory yesterday, right? If you talked about Israel wants really to create a superpower, greater Israel, or the things like that, was anti-Semitic. Now the Israeli Prime Minister, the famous war criminal, is talking about that through this war I wanted to create this super nation, right? Because Israelis are realizing that everything that he's doing is just to put in question completely all the fake democracy of Israel, democracy. Really nonsensical word. But he wants just to get rid of anything that can put him in jail, let's say, right? In order to go away from this fate, he is ready to set fire to the world, to the entire world. And he has to justify that, of course. So, if we want to conclude, we have to say that absolutely nothing is in the good direction, in the really toward where American and Israeli wanted, because they wanted to have it easily, right? Regime change, getting control of the Iranian oil, and anything. But now we have exactly on the contrary. The Iranian regime is there, even hardliner than before. Iranians are selling more and more oil, even in these conditions. The Strait of Hormuz is forever under control of Iran, right? Because as long as you don't have any means, any tools to change it, believe me, I saw a very good analysis about why the U.S. Navy won't blast the Iranians and open Strait of Hormuz. So James A. Russell is telling us in this military technical analysis that that period of time where the U.S. Navy was the most powerful and could do this and that here and there across the world has completely passed, right? Now we are in a new era where every country with just a few devices, a few $1,000 built devices can attack these aircraft carrier and put all these investment, billions and billions of dollars of investments at risk. So don't count on that, because it's not possible anymore. So he's telling us that the reality point, this reality points to an altered paradigm surrounding the application of sea power close to well-defended shores in the contemporary strategic environment. Gone are the days when carrier and their expensive manned short-range airplanes could decisively project power and pound America's enemies at will, free from the skies. So there is no such a thing anymore. The U.S. Navy cannot do whatever it wants at will. It's impossible. Just not possible anymore, as we saw that for the Iranian case. So, in other terms, to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, there is no military solution. Let's say that, right? Sending the boots on the ground, bombing, I don't know, whatsoever, cannot really open the Strait of Hormuz, cannot bring out the Strait of Hormuz of the Iranian control. The Iranian at any moment can create serious risk over there, and nobody is ready to pass unless Iranians accept to open the Strait of Hormuz and, of course, assure its security. So that's it. Though they couldn't get anything. Strait of Hormuz is closed. As I told you, the Iranian nuclear capabilities are there. They need just to be reconstructed, rebuilt, or manipulated in such a way that they can get maybe the nuclear bomb, because right now the Iranian parliament is voting for getting Iran out of the NPT, which means from that moment Iran is internationally legally is not a part of the restrictions imposed by the NPT, and can, if it wants, to build a nuclear bomb. Right? Raise the U.S. Navy to prevent that? Far from that. They left the Gulf. Right? How the Americans can act, there is no basis. There is no American basis anymore in the Arab countries. And just today, Saudi Arabia announced a lot of rupture, breakout and disruption with anything that this country was doing with the Americans with regard to the military security and other cases. NATO is, in trouble, completely in distress, and will collapse most probably once the United States will announce that it's getting off. The oil price doubled almost, right? It was between 65 to 75 before war. Now it's between 110 to 120. And the cream of the crop is the global inflation that is coming. And believe me, that will hurt a lot. That will be extremely painful for hundreds of millions of people, including the American people here in the United States, and of course the European one. If you want to know what will happen to the poor countries, I am telling you, we are going to have a very acute food crisis over there. These are the effects that are coming. That's why I talked about the delayed defeat, right? A postponed defeat, a postponed failure, because it takes a little time. And you can see that the Americans are losing face. The American status across the world has been hugely and lastly damaged. I am pretty sure Americans cannot really back to where they were just before the second term of Trump's presidency for decades, and that's for sure. We are going to have new elements across the world that will have to do two things. One is to replacing the United States, and you will see that the new superpowers will come out, and just for the purpose of argument, I have to say that some of these countries are already preparing, to play an important role across the world, either lonely or as a group. For example, look at these four countries that are right now in full motion in the region: Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. If they can create, because there are the talks, about this, if they can create a kind of military or political alliance, in order to present themselves as a bloc, later, if they are, because they are supported already by China, right? Today we saw China and Pakistan announced effectively a proposal. Here you can see they are suggesting, not here, but they are suggesting some proposal to put an end to the war and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, right? So China is supporting these four countries, and later I am pretty sure if Iran also joined to this, we are going to have a very strong bloc in the region, and that would be the starting of the end of the Zionist entity, because the Zionist entity cannot survive, it cannot expand, right? It needs really to extend itself territorially, militarily, economically, and so on. So if there is a huge strong bloc, imagine that supported and backed by China and by other Arab countries, Turkey, Egypt, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and of course later Iran, that would be something new. That's why let me at the end of this program say you this. Many people are talking about a new world order that is coming out, right? Is in light of everything that's happening within war and in the aftermath of this war, they are talking about a new world order. That's true, but I think right now and for a while, for a few months or even 1-2 years, we are not yet to the period of time where there would be a new world order. It is too soon to talk about that, right? But I am pretty sure that this period can be seen as the one in which the process through which there are actors, new factors, new elements that are taking shape, and this war was just the triggering point of this process, right? But this process, I think, will take at least 1 to 2 years just to determine who are the actors of this formulation of the new world order, okay? Because we have to get to, an idea, we have to be fixed on our faith regarding the elections in the United States, right? Midterm elections, and also for the 2028. Same thing for Israel, and of course the fate of the military adventure of Israel in Lebanon. We need several events and elements to be fixed on their fates so that we can talk about the possibility of creating a new order. The war between Ukraine and Russia is one of these elements, for example. It must be ended as this war and any other important war that we have. So that's why if we are talking about the post-war period, it's not only this war against Iran. It's a matter of several wars, across the world that must be fixed, must be ended, terminated, and from that moment, through the survivals, right, through those who could really survive and those who have been victorious, then we are going to have the list of actors, factors, and what will be determining this new world order we are talking about. So now it's very soon, it's too soon, but the process has already been triggered. At the end of this process, in 1, 2, 3 years, we are going to have a new setting, and this new setting will determine what would be the fate of humanity through a new world order. That new world order must take into account unavoidably the parameter of the climate change, right? The environmental damages. It's not only political and economic elements. Now we have the environmental issues, more and more serious environmental issues. And believe me or not, we are going to have something extremely bad. As you can see here, they are talking about a new heat wave that is coming to the United States with at least 4 Celsius degree more than the waves before, and that would be for some cases, for some activities, really bad and even fatal, right? So that's why we have to take account of all of these in order to know if the humanity can really take over of the stupid team of Trump, the criminal team of Netanyahu, and get together in order to again re-establish a kind of new world order that will generate stability and most probably a trend of prosperity for all the countries. We will see. I want to announce that today I am ending the production of this long video because for war it was necessary to report that. Of course the war continues and I am working on that, but from April I will change the format of the presentation and also the number of videos that I have been producing. Most probably in April, either I will have some shorter videos published per week, or one analytical weekly program. We will see. But I want to thank you really for watching these videos, for sharing them, and for supporting them. Some of you were very helpful. Really, I am grateful for your support, for your kind words in the comments. That was very heartwarming, and that's why I kept continuing. And of course I will keep continue this in the coming months, but a little different from what we have had so far. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video in April. Thank you. Bye bye.